What's up, guys? Dabu7 back at you. Some updates here. We've had this big meeting go down that I told you about that Hegseth was having with troops and all the generals. Well, apparently they put out a few little clips showing kind of what they were talking about in there, but it's like throwing a bone to a dog, for the people out there to chew on, because the real stuff is never shown on camera. And you still got to speculate and wonder what's going on. Well, what we do know, what they're putting out here, is that Hegseth is saying that we've got to prepare for war. And he's doing it with urgency, and an urgency that they say that they've never seen before. And it just leaves us to speculate what was talked about behind the scenes while the cameras are off, and the real deal for why they were all called there. But they just showed us a little piece, and they were there for quite some time talking about all types of stuff which will remain classified and hidden. But to call all these people in has people raising serious questions, and for him to come out and state that we need to prepare for war, everyone's like, what war? Like, what do you mean? Like, we're involved in wars all the way around the globe. And he's saying we're shifting all this in a brand new strategy. We're shifting everything over to the home front in the Western Hemisphere. So he's saying that we need troops, we need ammunition, we need this, we need these things, we need it all. And it's like, hold on, what's going on here? Like, what's about to pop off? Well, I've been warning you, and it's pretty obvious when they're stationed with warships all around Venezuela, Latin America, Mexico. They've yet to even really start striking. And he's acting like, the war's coming here to us, and that we must prepare. So that's what I've seen out of all this. Join me on the live stream where I can break this down in greater detail. Going live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dabu77. I hope to see you guys there. Much love.
Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham, Shakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, Rule Web, and the greatest number to the younger brothers in truth, and peace and blessing to the hopeful elect, and Lord willing, this edifying lesson. And we're getting ready to go into that hour temptation that the scriptures speak about. We're getting ready to go into wartime. We already, all hell getting ready to break loose because that's all being talked about. Everything is moving towards prophecy. War this and war that. Digital ID this and digital ID that. Everything is shifting towards, been going towards prophecy, but it's intensifying. Government shutdowns and all these different things, and we're currently in the Day of Atonement. And things are just intensifying, man. And it's all. And we need these things. If you in this truth, you should be hastening to come another day of the Lord, because our lives, the hell we catching that's intensifying. You know, just tribulation all around. And you should be ready to get the fuck up out of Babylon, man. And the Lord is getting ready to bring this place down. So all we can do is continue to fight, continue to push, because the Lord getting ready to bring this place to its utter end, complete destruction. But I got this Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14 to say the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. Yeah, the second woe is what, World War II. Third woe is World War III, which World War III would be fought with, it would be ended with thermonuclear destruction and the coming of our Lord Yahushua Hamashiach. You know, that's how World War III will be ended. And that's the great deliverance. Will be delivered from that time. Before all that can happen, guess what got to happen? Revelation 13, Revelation 13:16, the mark of the beast. Those things have to happen before the Lord returns, before those nukes get shot. The whole earth would have to be tried to receive that mark. But they did have that meeting, where they brought all those generals and shit, something that never been done before, and it kind of, people's spidey senses start tingling like something finna happen, and something is finna happen. Do we know what's gonna happen? Uh, what Esau next big attack on America is, or what? No, we don't know the next big catastrophic event that's gonna happen, or which way they gonna go with it, because there's a lot of different things that can happen. But what is gonna happen is they gonna implement that MOTB. You know, they gonna implement that mark, which is a device, and that digital ID. All these databases they getting ready to put everything into a database, and the only way you're gonna be able to partake in this society is if you get that MOTB. Well, which the digital ID is not the MOTB, but it's a prelude, so to speak. They may start it off with a little card or app or some shit, and give you a QR code to scan, to click it, and then a QR code pop up. That's your digital ID, all your information on it. But eventually, they're gonna go from that. What if your phone dead? You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. It's gonna be less convenient, so they're gonna gra- gradually gradually move towards that C hip, and it might not take long. It might be something quick, like nah, fuck this. We need to move to that mark now. Something could happen where they just fast track it, as they say, and go straight into that MOTB system, the actual charagma, man. You know, and he was speaking about how they was saying that they shifting they um moving things to the homeland because something big could possibly happen here in Babylon the Great. But the Third World War gonna have all the militaries in the Middle East. But something can happen here in America because the same way this place was established is gonna go out, or the same way this place lives, so to speak, has tormented and terrorized these other nations. That's gonna come here. You know, America has ravished and done evil all throughout the earth. Don't think this place gonna go unscathed. No, it ain't. And then it's gonna be cleaned up. The final blow to America gonna be utter destruction by thermonuclear missiles and fire from the chariots of the Lord. That's another thing they constantly talking about. Spaceships headed toward Earth, humongous spaceships. They ain't meteors. They have signals coming off of them and things of that nature. They ain't moving like meteorites, and they saying stuff like that. You know, and they huge. Bigger than state. They say hey, that's beautiful, man. And they saying more than one of them. It ain't just one. They saying multiple different um unidentified space ships headed towards this planet, headed toward entering into the solar system and things of that nature. You know. But back to the point at hand, this the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and verse 10. It say, "Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, thus saith Yahweh power." It say, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, which is speaking about Russia, because the Lord going, you know, how Russia at first was like, nah, we ain't gonna do this, and trying to calm the situation, but Nero, you know, doing these other nations doing what they want, Nero and the so-called Israelis, they are the Israelis, so-called Jews. They doing and Ukraine. You know, they NATO. They funding Ukraine, not Ukraine, but I'm thinking about they was funding Ukraine. You know, and giving them weapons and not letting Russia get they, which was their country, one of their countries back. You know, to reform the USSR. So Russia had to, let their ass out, and Ukraine through. But America and the NATO, they kept aiding them, giving them weapons and shit like that. And all those things are gonna come back to bite America. All these allied nations, they gonna turn their backs on America because those different things they were doing was causing the EU, not the EU, the NATO countries over there in Europe to suffer. You know, the different pipelines that blew up and shit like that. Having those, Germany and, those different countries over there to have to pay higher prices for oil, you know. Like, um, having to pay higher price for oil. And then not only that, is they poking the bear and they right next door. They, right next door to Russia. And Russia can attack them in America way across the water, which Russia can touch America too with them hypersonic intercontinental ballistic missiles that they have, those arrows that can fly from one end of the world to the other. So America ain't like America can't be touched, but they stirring up shit and dragging these they allies into it, you know, and not really. They say peace and all this shit, but they ain't really trying to bring peace. By the sword, according to the Lord, it's how you gonna live. And the scriptures also speak about there ain't no peace coming to the wicked. There ain't no peace coming. No, you finna fight, man. The Lord is a man of war, and that's how this place is gonna go out through war. That's how it was established through war, and that's how it's gonna be annihilated through war. You know, verse 11 is the point that that's the reason I got it. It say, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. America is a land of unwalled, is a city of unwalled villages. And I will go through them that are at rest and that dwell safely. Yeah, because America is safe from the things that happen in these other countries. People ain't shooting missiles on New York. You know what I'm saying? You got down, different cities around the United States ain't being bombed by actual foreign countries, you know, because they put a tariff on them. Nah, America ain't dealing with it. America decide to put a tariff on them. Not the other country mad and they shoot missiles. You know, assassinate different generals and shit. They ain't doing them other countries ain't doing that to America, but that's gonna come here. You know, America is finna lose. The Lord is finna, take their heads from off of this place, and this place is gonna be a target. You know, because it's a hedge around America. America's protected. That's why war don't happen here. Things don't happen here, and the people are proud and dwell. People think America can't be touched. People think America is indestructible, man. People think the American military is the most powerful military on the planet, which they are powerful, in the sense one of the top militaries. But the Lord is gonna take their heads off this place. Why? Because it's the time of its appointed destruction. It say, and they that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and without gates, without walls and having neither bars nor gates. Yeah, because ancient cities was fortified by walls, ancient fortresses. They had walls and gates, and so that you couldn't enter into it easily. Then they had watchmen upon towers that always had watching over the city, from attackers. This place don't have it, which it have it in a sense, but it don't have walls and gates. It's wide open. Anybody can, people can sneak in. People have been sneaking in for years until Trump administration came in. People still sneaking in, but they just cracking down on it. They ain't just letting people in like biting. And it was all a set up plan because these elite know that America, even in their new world order, America is not going to be a part of it. The top elite international, but they know that. They know this place gonna be ultimately destroyed in World War III. You know, in World War III, these different wars they have, and those are depopulation. That those are ways to depopulate. Let's put it like that. Verse 12 it say to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited. It say, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which I have, which have, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Which that's pretty much the point of verse 11. Lord gonna get into the land of unwild villages, which is speaking about America. America is a land of unwild villages. Ain't no wall set up to separate nothing in America, man. And war is coming here. This the book of Isaiah chapter 4:47 and verse 1. It say, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. And America is the virgin daughter of Babylon because America hasn't been penetrated by foreign war. You know, World War I, America wasn't touched. There wasn't no boats and shit pulling up on the shores of California, Alabama, Mississippi, or Texas. Boats and shit wasn't arriving in South and North Carolina, pulling up, you know, New York and different cities. They ain't been penetrated with war. So that's why the scriptures mention it as a virgin daughter. It say, sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. It say, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal, uncover thy locks and make bare the leg, and uncover thy thigh. You know, uncovering this place. When you make bare in the ancient world woman's leg and thighs and stuff like that, it was they get grabbing up, trying to pull that shit down, embarrassing. You know, like if a lady dress blow up, they get to pulling it down, their cheeks turn red, and they get, the Edomites on the cartoon, like Betty Boo and shit, like they get to try to pull their dress down, looking embarrassed and shit. But that's what the Lord finna do to America. The mother of harlots. This place finna sit in the dust, man. It say thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen, and I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh's gonna send his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, to redeem us, to deliver us, to actually literally physically save us in a moment in the twinkling of an eye from the destruction of this place. And before that ultimate destruction, the Lord is gonna be protecting us. He gonna send the angels to protect us in the times of war. You know, when pestilence and famine and plague and all these things come upon this place, the Lord gonna protect us, man, because it's coming. It say, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, and thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou in silence, and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. It say, I was wroth with my people, and I have polluted mine inheritance, which is going to America, no more being a Lady of Kingdoms. You know, this place finna it's being despised. The countries hate this place. These other nations and shit hate America. You know, they hate the leaders of America, and right along with Americans who they hate the small headers, the Israelis. You know, these people are losing their respect. These people are becoming greatly despised. They was once looked at as the beacon, you know, a light. Now these nations looking at these people like, hold up, man, fuck, you know, America, fuck the Israelis. They ain't right. They the reason why all this war going on. And the allies of America, the the UN and the EU, these different nations of those different. I mean, not the UN, the NATO and the EU. They gonna even start looking at this place upside their head, sideways, according to what it say in Revelation. You know, they gonna hate the whore that sitteth upon the beast. These ten shall hate the whore, roughly paraphrase. And they gonna eat her flesh and burn her with fire, man. They gonna turn and they gonna shoot their nukes on this place. You know, the only ally America gonna have in World War III at the end of it is the small headers, man. They say, I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hands, which is the Lord. People of the Israelites, so called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we've been given into the hands of Esau Edom, you know, because America is the capital of Edom, you know. America runs this world. This is that great kingdom, Babylon. Babylon the Great, old virgin daughter of Babylon, you know. Thou didst show them no mercy, and upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. It say, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. So thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember thy latter end. And the latter end of this place is destruction. The latter end of the heathen nations is what? Captivity. You know? You touch the apple of the Lord, I polluted it, destroyed, killed, murdered, defiled, and think you just gonna walk away scot free, escape into heaven? You know, die and go to heaven? Nigga, no, nigga, you finna go into hardcore bondage. You gonna reap what you sowed. And America is finna reap what it's sown. America always invading these countries, bombing them, and doing all this wickedness. Well, guess what? They finna reap what they sowed. America ran throughout the earth, still killing and destroying, bombing all these nations and shit, taking down leaders and doing all these different things. Well, these nations getting rid, they preparing for America. They preparing for the allies of America. They arming themselves. They beating their plowshares and the swords and their pruning hook into spears. These nations preparing as well. Just how America, you know, we need guns and y'all should have been building guns and bullets as much as you know y'all starting shit. But America got comfortable, you know, running around the earth. You giving all your weapons to Ukraine, giving all your resources to these other countries to fund or what they call it. Uh, you funding different wars and not actually fighting them, giving them all your weapons and you know your ammo and your military power. You can say, I guess you can say that. I can't think of the word, but you giving these other countries and shit all your resources for war, not knowing you gonna have to go to war, which they know that. That's how they live. They go out live off war. You know, America's been made right for the taking, for real, for real. But the thing is, China ain't got nicks. Russia ain't got nicks. Iran ain't got nicks. None of these nations got nicks. No, the next nation to come into power is the nation of Israel. The Lord coming back and conquering the earth in righteousness and waging war in righteousness. And he gonna deliver his elect. Lord willing, we are part of that number. Verse 8, it say, therefore hear now this, thou that art given into pleasure, and that dwellest carelessly, and say in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me, and I will not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. And that's how America is. That's why I said in Ezekiel 8, 38 and verse 11, it say they dwell carelessly without walls, dwell in safety, roughly paraphrase. Verse 9, it say, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, which this ultimately talking about the thermonuclear destruction. Because this place gonna get wiped out, man. And destruction finna come upon America in perfection. It's not gonna be ain't nothing gonna be left living on this place when the Lord get through with it. Nothing. It ain't gonna be a grasshopper. Ain't gonna be a cockroach. And the Lord gonna destroy this place, utterly destroy this place, man. You know. And then after a time, it'll be inhabited by desert creatures and things of that nature. Because it's gonna be a big, gigantic desert. Ain't gonna be no trees and shit like that going on, remnants of houses and stop signs sticking out the ground. No, this place is gonna be wiped the fuck out, man. It say, verse 9 again, it say, but these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, and they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. It say, for thus saith the Lord, for Salaki. Verse 10, it say, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. It say, thou hast said, none seeth me. Yeah, and the Lord got his eyes on you, man. The Lord eyes upon the sinful kingdom. You know, the Lord eyes run to and fro throughout the earth, beholding the good and the evil. So the Lord see your ass, man. You ain't escaping shit. It say thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it have perverted thee. Yeah, your wickedness, your knowledge and wisdom of wickedness, it perverted you. Thank you. And Esau knows a lot of shit, but he used it in wickedness. So he thought he was bigger than the program, so to speak. And the Lord raised him up just like he raised Pharaoh up. You know, all this wealth and power and strength and technology. You know, this knowledge of things. Nigga got satellites and you know the knowledge of medicine and can cure and create diseases and all. This nigga do all kind of shit, man. Preserve things and build different things deep underground and you know back in verse 10, it say, none seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge have perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me. Verse 11, it say, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. They're speaking about America, and thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. And say, stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Yeah, because this nation was founded by the founding fathers of the nation. They were Masons, Freemasons and shit. You know, they practiced witchcraft and all these different things. They played with, you know, witchcraft. They did sorceries and enchantments, and that's why this place is established off paganism. You know, they worshiped all these different gods. They brought all these different ancient pagan artifacts over here. You know, different what they call the obelisk, pentagram, set up naming different places out the Egypt, Memphis, and shit. Like they was doing that because there was that witchcraft being performed. You know, and there was the Lord allowing them to do that to so you'll know that this place is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. You know that you'll know this place is spiritual Babylon and all these different things. So the Lord was allowing them to do those things and tie this place into all that different ancient dark magic. You know, left hand wisdom. Why? So the prophets can identify it, you know, and see, oh shit, America is Babylon the Great. Or America is spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt. Or we the Israelites who dead bodies lied in the street of that great city. Verse 12 again it say, stand now in thy enchantments, in and with the multitude of thy sorceries, and the multitude of thy sorcery wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to be if so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. It say thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. And it just mentioned the witches and warlocks, you know, witches and warlocks. It say, behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them, and they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coil to warm at, nor a fire to sit before. It say, thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast labored, even the merchants, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. Yeah, even the merchants from thy youth. Yeah, these other nations who over here making money off, they ain't gonna save you. They gonna weep at the burning of this bitch, man. And America will be eliminated in this upcoming war. This whole system will be brought down. The Lord getting ready to judge this place. And we just hoping the Lord put his spirit on us to be able to endure until the end, until our death or until he returns, you know. And the elect will endure. So that's all we gotta do is continue to do the work of the Lord and pray. And, you know, ask for mercy and forgiveness and repent, you know, as we're in the day of atonement, repenting, atoning for our sins, which we know Yahweh Shah was the ultimate sacrifice. He was the ultimate atonement for the sins of the nation of Israel. But we rehearse the righteous acts because even in the kingdom, we'll continuously keep the Day of Atonement. We're gonna, you know, keep the Feast of Tabernacles. We're gonna keep all those different high holy days, you know. So, you know, as we hear, our two top ones we keep is the Day of Atonement and the Passover. In this man's kingdom, we can keep those, you know. So we do it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. So that's pretty much the point. I don't think I had anything else. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 21. It say, and a mighty angel took up a great millstone. Took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Yeah, and violence is how this great city Babylon is gonna be thrown down. And the first thing that's gonna happen, the first form of violence that's gonna throw this place down is the collapse. The economy gonna collapse. You know, this place gonna get brought to and they gonna implement their new system. War is gonna break out. Civil unrest gonna break out. Chaos, famine, pestilence, and the final finishing blow from the Lord to this place is gonna be thermonuclear, intercontinental ballistic destruction. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to end it giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakat, Kadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders, the great millstone, rule web, and the great example to us younger brothers in the truth, and peace and blessing to the hopeful elect. Shalom. Kwame Shalom, and above all.